What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of High Mythology, the show where we get higher than a Tibetan temple wedged up in the Himalayan mountains and tell you some stories about mythology. Today, Kim's going to be bringing us some Chinese folk tales, getting a little folky around here, and hope you guys enjoy. So go ahead, take it away, Kim.
Hey, yo, I'm Kymbo. So, I guess we should just jump right into it, right?
Go for it.
All right, so this one's called The Waiting Maid's Parrot. Thanks. A young maiden in waiting had been taken to a great household in the Szechuan province. She was incredibly beautiful and intelligent. It was only a matter of days before she became the master's favorite over all the other serving women, and he kept her apart from them. Solitude.
Got that Szechuan sauce.
She knew their secret recipe, you know. One day, a particular official presented the master with a rare parrot, one that was so cunning and clever that it could speak with a human voice. The master charged his favorite waiting maid with the care and feeding of the bird as her sole duty.
God.
While she waits to get banged by him, I guess.
It's your sole duty. Man, this sour tangy shit. It hits hard.
Oh, this is the old stuff sorry. It's a little bit stronger.
Oh, shit.
Still at like almost 30%.
What are we smoking? What is it called?
I think
Let's the people know.
I think it's Pink Moon.
Pink Moon.
No. It's Zookies.
Zookies.
Z-O-O-K-I-E.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. One day, as the maid was feeding the parrot, it suddenly spoke and said to her, "Take good care of me, sister, and you will deserve a proper husband for it." Abashed, the maid slapped her fan at the bird, but it did not flinch. After that moment, whenever the bird had something to say, she would respond with a jest or a scolding until the practice of conversation became a habit that she was no longer conscious of. After all, she did spend most of her time completely isolated with the parrot. The whispered confidences over the year had made the two become quite close friends. And one day, the maid was in the bath when the bird had just finished bathing. At this point...
Bathing together?
I guess so. I mean, that's how the story goes. At this point, the parrot was tamed, that she no longer left the cage locked. The parrot shook its wings and started flying around the room, and the maid was scared he was going to fly away. She hopped out of her bath and tried to snatch the bird, but as it flew around. But the parrot had punctured the paper window and looped through it and was gone, leaving the maid to watch helplessly.
That's
naked.
why you don't have paper windows.
I mean, back then. This is Japan or China, man. That's
China,
what they do.
yeah.
Right? Paper windows, paper doors. That kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Bubble up.
They overestimated the power of paper, I think, back in the day. Like, this is it. This is going to be the stuff. Like, you can't even see out of that window, and a bird could just easily fly through it.
That's how the squirrels make a nest.
Yeah.
Terrified of her master, the maid comes up with a plan to hide her guilt. She dresses and moves the cage to the windowsill, outside her bedroom window, with the cage door open, and she goes to her master and tearfully says to him, "Your obedient waiting maid forgot to close her bedroom door when she went to bathe, never expecting for anyone to take advantage, for someone to go in and release the bird. But I will gladly bear the blame and would even die without resentment for my offense." The master knew full well that the other waiting maids were jealous of her and accepted her story. He questioned the entire household, but could not find the culprit, and investigation was dropped.
Oh,
Full on blown ass investigation,
Yeah.
man. Harassing all my investigation stories.
Yeah.
It's Timmy under the well.
Who let the birds out?
I know, right?
I like how she just instant reaction is to blame it on that other chick, too.
Fuck yeah. I mean, she's all alone, so who gives a fuck?
No, I
right?
lost the bird. You know what? I also hate Karen, though. Maybe this can work out to my advantage.
I don't blame her. I hate fucking Karen, too.
That bitch Karen just left the bird cage open. She also left an upper decker in your bathroom.
That's so... Okay, so a little over a week goes by, and the master's wife sends the waiting maid on an errand to a matron named Liang.
Liang.
His unmarried son, Hosu, spent most of his days reading in his study. Presently, a bird flew into his study and settled itself on his desk. Then, with a human voice, the parrot said to Hosu, "I've been searching for an ideal mate for you. Why don't you go have a look?" Startled, Hosu puts down his book and chases after the talking parrot. It leads him out of his room, past the koi ponds and around the garden, through the gates that lead to the entrance of his home, where he spied a young maiden in dark colors enter his home. He glanced around and saw that the parrot had disappeared. Hosu made an excuse to follow the maid into the inner hall, where he found her talking to his mother softly and fluidly. The maid was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, so captivated by her all-around appearance that he learned from their conversation between the maid and his mother that the woman was a waiting maid in a mighty household. Yeah.
He's just sitting there in the bushes, just, shit.
In their tradition, with fairness, you're not allowed to speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
If she's a waiting maid for a high household lord,
birth
you
before
don't
house was
talk
law
to them.
back then.
That's property to them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Of course, because that's how women were viewed, right? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It's okay. Things are better now, right?
Right. Not quite, but we're getting there. The waiting maid did notice the highborn youth and glanced at him from time to time. Although they were not allowed to exchange a single word, their affections were still engaged. Upon returning to her house, the waiting maid went to her room, where the empty birdcage lay next to her bed. On top of the cage was the parrot. It was peacefully resting with its eyes shut and talons curled. Overly excited to see it there, she runs at the bird and tries to catch it. But, motherfucker.
I like that the parrot just comes back on his own too. Like, what? I'm obviously a smart bird.
Mm-hmm. But it flew out of her reach and perched itself high onto the rafters above. It protested loudly at her, saying, "Here I am, sister, nearly spent from dashing about on your behalf, and by good fortune I have found a fine husband for you. Why do you still wish to lock me up?"
I found you some D.
Jesus. She wasn't about to not have D. She was just waiting to be of age to have D.
Yeah. No, she's a maid in waiting, a waiting maid.
Well, usually maids in waiting start at age 10, and then they don't become their actual concubines until they're 16 and shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that was back in the day. There was also slavery back then too, so whatever. It was fucking hard times back then.
But there were also talking parrots, so.
And which is awesome. Why do you still wish to lock me up? The young maid was marveled at what the bird said, and she continued to listen as the parrot told its story. The parrot concluded his story by saying, "Although I cannot carry you two off beyond the compound walls and heroically bring you two together physically, I can communicate your heart's desires to him. Sister, if he is indeed the man you care for." The waiting maid blushed, but made no reply. The parrot continued to say, "Young people in love are always this way," and he suddenly pauses and looks about, and then says, "Someone is coming, and I must leave." And with that, the bird was gone. The young maid was indeed deeply attracted to the young Liang man, and it made her ashamed to be joining the ranks of the master's concubines. Tossing and turning throughout the night, she fought with the two emotions. The next day, when the bird saw that no one was around, he flew back to the waiting maid's room and perched himself upon top of the empty cage. The maid beckons to it and says, "The master treasures me and will never surrender me to the Liangs. To him that would be like using a pearl to shoot down a sparrow." Then again, the young Liang is handsome, talented, and rich. Suppose he were attracted to a fresh flower. What would stop the talking... would he stoop to taking a waiting maid for his proper wife?
Oh.
"I thank you for your troubles, but I fear such an affair must fail. Nothing can be done." Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I guess she wasn't a fresh flower. huh?
Oh yeah, and that's some cold shit on the.
Yeah.
I do want to know though. I want to know where that fucking bird came from.
From the official.
Yeah, but he's obviously like. What's his backstory? Because he's been around, you know. Like even they comment like,
but the bird is calling her sister.
Sister, you know, fucking young lovers.
She's only calling the girl sister.
Young lovers in love
They're
always like this. I've seen it a million times. Like, where have you been, bird? Who taught you to fucking talk this well?
Shit.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry. The bird shook his wings and flew off. It came back under the cover of darkness, and the parrot says to her, "The young Liang's name is Hosu, and he wishes for me to recite you a poem of his affections for you." Let me get this joint started again. Hang on.
Poetry time.
I wrote it so perfectly for anyone to understand.
You did some slam poetry.
"I care not if your fan be plain. My love is for your face, so fair." Thank you. "If we could mount this nuptial bird, we'd soar aloft, a wedded pair." I tried my best. You like that? Okay.
"I care not if your ass is flat, for your tits are huge."
What the fuck? Okay. So the maid rejoiced to hear those words, and she confided to the parrot all her heartfelt love, and she had for Hosu. Just before morning approaches, she sets the bird free, and in his lonely study, Hosu had been thinking of the maid night and day. When he awoke the next morning, he saw a bird flying above him. He thought that it looked like the same one that had come to him before, and he joked with it, saying, "My good fellow, can you tell me something of the lady who has my heart? Certainly you are a bird amongst birds. We shall have to make a written biography of you so that you will be remembered for all eternity."
Fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You are a bird amongst birds.
Dude, he was poetic, man.
Yeah, he was.
All right, so
he's just spitting it.
Oh, dude, that's all he ever does is read
fire.
books, right?
Yeah.
So the bird flew down and fluttered its wings, settling on a branch beside him. The parrot told Hosu that of the maid's affections for him and of her anxiety. Elated, Hosu asked the bird if she could read. "Somewhat," he said the parrot. So Hosu decides he's going to write her a letter, revealing his love and vowing to marry her. He sealed his note and put it on the ground, and the parrot then swooped down, took the message in its beak, and flew away, leaving Hosu more astonished by the oddness of all of it. Several days go by, and Hosu did not see the bird. All news of his beloved was abruptly cut off, and he became overwhelmed with yearning and despair.
So full of yearning.
Then he overheard someone's conversation about a maid from a great household that suddenly died and was hastily buried. Suspecting the worst, he made inquiries to verify that it was indeed his beloved. But he could not discover the cause of her death. What Hosu did not know
Bird flu.
Wow. was that the maiden had indeed seen his letter, but she was ashamed of her inability to write and sent instead. Fucking myself. Sorry. She was ashamed of her inability to write and instead removed one of her incredibly expensive earrings and handed it to the parrot to give to her intended. The bird was to tell him the location of her parents' home and ask him to visit them and make a gift of money. Her freedom could then be redeemed, and then she could marry Hosu. The parrot took the earring and flew away. About halfway through the parrot's journey, a young peasant spotted something shiny in the bird's mouth as it flew towards him. He picked up a rock and chucked it at the bird, hitting it in its cheeks. Did your mom stop? How long ago has this happened? Damn it. I was so on it.
Oh, it's still recording.
Fuck. I was so... What the fuck was that about?
Sorry, peoples. We had a little technical difficulties there, but we're back. Keep going, Cam.
Okay, so I have to go back just a bit. So the parrot took the earring and flew away. But about halfway through the parrot's journey, a young peasant spotted something shiny flying in the bird's mouth as it flew towards him. He picked up a rock and chucked it at the bird, hitting it in its cheek. The talking parrot tumbled lifelessly to the ground. That is sad.
I love that bird, man. I am genuinely upset now. I am genuinely upset at that fucking peasant.
Mm-hmm. It was not long before the maid was struck with disaster as well. At first, the master favored her for her beauty, and everyone expected that she would take the place of the master's concubine.
Oh, she's going to be the next concubine for sure.
But she resisted the idea and grumbled behind the master's back.
Grumbling ass bitch.
The servants remembered that the maid had blamed them for the missing parrot, and they had all barely escaped a whipping.
Oh, it's coming back to bite her in the ass. See, that's why you make friends with your coworkers.
Wow. Okay. Not always. I'll fucking fight some of them. Sorry, buddy.
Because if you turn on them and you do trifling ass shit, then when shit goes down, they're going to be like, let's all turn on that trifling ass bitch.
I mean, I'm a fair believer in do what to others as you want done to you.
Exactly. So don't frame people for the bird cage.
That is.
Lest you have
exactly.
the cage frame
you like just take the fucking
upon
blame
you.
and be like, bitch, I'm sorry, I lost your fucking talking parrot. Beat the shit out of me. But know that I'm beautiful, so you're going to make me your concubine anyway.
Mm-hmm. I would have been straight up with the king. I would have been like, listen, that bird is super fucking smart.
Just a lord.
That bird took off, but he has free will. He's an intelligent bird. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He obviously, or she. I guess I've been making the bird a dude just because it's a parrot for some reason. It could be a lady parrot, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So the genderless parrot.
For now, it's genderless.
Yeah, that.
But it is indeed a woman.
It is a woman. Oh, a she parrot.
It is a she parrot.
Okay. Yeah.
And we'll get to there.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
I'll stop interrupting you with my parrot theory. Fucking. Over here.
I'm like, I got the end of the story right here, bro. Don't worry. They feared that she would become a problem for them once she becomes the master's favorite concubine. So they decided to attack her in unison. They heard her talking to the bird in her room at night, so they decided to spread the slander that she was involved with another man. And the rumor quickly caught the ear of the master, who began to nurse a deep jealousy. He ordered the maid's room be searched, and they found Hosu's love letter. The master became fully enraged, and then ordered that the maid was to be interrogated under torture.
Ouch.
Dick.
I know. It kind of sounds like the master is an asshole.
Oh, he is. Okay, so her story was so absurd to her torturers that they continued to beat her until her body was covered in bruises and her breath scarcely came. She was near death when the master heard the story. He ordered her to be buried alive in a well in the middle of the wilds. So after Hosu learned of his beloved's death, he sat wounded in spirit and dozed off at his desk. Suddenly, a woman appears to him in his dream. She is clothed in vibrant colored feathers and similar to the parrots.
Parrot lady.
She says to him, I am the parrot.
Okay, yeah. I like how she cut straight to it. There's no beating around the bush there.
And my elder sister is your love. She was a parrot as well. Thanks to her virtuous conduct, she was reincarnated into a human, and it was only by chance that we were reunited. I was concerned that she would be humiliated in an unworthy match, so I left in search of a perfect fit for her, you. Who would have thought that I would have died before my mission was complete? I sense her vital force weakening, and I fear that only you can save her. In his dream, Hosu was overjoyed and asked where she was, and the parrot woman pointed her finger and said, 100 paces beyond the city. The tomb of the fair one is not far away. And the woman then falls to the ground and turns into a crane and then soars into the heavens.
Crane!
The crane is a holy...
Mm-hmm.
It's actually their holy symbol in a lot of different areas. Anyway, Hosu awoke, startled, and at once he ordered for his horse and he rode out beyond the city wall. He knew of a certain tavern whose name had the same sound as 100 paces, and is apparent hint from his dream.
Mm.
Apparently, it's a hint from his dream.
Oh, I see. So they gave him some
They don't
Sherlock
explain that
shit to put together.
Yeah.
100 paces. 100 paces. Does she mean the bar 100 places? I should go get drunk, and then I will figure out this mystery.
Hunchback places.
Hunchback places.
Sounds like 100 paces.
Sounds like 100 paces.
Anyway. He took a room at the tavern. I don't think I'm that far yet. There, he found a burial site, but he dared not open it right away. He took a room at the tavern, and when night came, he paid his servant to accompany him to the dreaded place and help him open the tomb. Together, they were able to lift the locked well door that was buried, and Hosu leaned in and could make out the sounds of faint breathing. He held a light over the well and could see his beloved below. Delirious with joy, Hosu ran to a nearby Buddhist convent and aggressively knocked on their door for help. The monks opened the door and leads Hosu into a large room where all the other monks are.
Monk temple.
I guess they were all eating or some shit. I don't know.
They're all just monking.
I guess.
Doing monk stuff. Kung fu and shit. Meditation.
Hosu relates in full his reasons for intruding so late, and the monks who took pleasure in helping others agreed to helped him lift the maid from the hole. So Hosu carried the maid on his back to the convent and left the maid with the monks.
Fuck yeah.
Well, she needs some time, you know.
Yeah, she needs to heal.
After seeing to
those
the cost
guys can
of
sleep
her
on
care,
spears, so they're gonna be totally fine to protect her.
So after seeing the cost of her care, he went home, and it was over a month before the maid regained her strength. When Hosu received news of her good health, he sent a letter to one of the monks asking them to be his matchmaker, and then explained forcefully as possible to his mother that his heart belonged to a girl from a poor family. Hosu's mom went to the convent to see the maid that stole her son's heart, and she remembers the maid from their last meeting and listened sympathetically to the maid's teary story. Having always treasured her son, the mother only wanted to see her baby boy happy. So the mother takes home her son's fiance from the convent and severs the relationship with the maid's former household so that the girl's whereabouts would be kept secret. They were married and lived happily ever after, and Hosu never forgot the kindness of the parrot who had shown him kindness, whatever. And then whenever someone who had captured one of these birds, he would buy it and free it.
Set your parrot free. I bet he always expected him to be just as smart, too.
Yeah.
He'd get the parrot and go to set it free and be like, "Parrot, tell me about your life. What do you know about young lovers?"
It's just a prophecy ball.
Ah! Fuck you.
Dude, yes. I would like
just a regular parrot.
I would like to imagine what's that guy that played Iago?
Iago. Gilbert Gottfried is the voice of the parrot.
That'd be so
Sister.
Awesome.
Let me tell you the thing.
Please, and I want the girl to sound like Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Wouldn't that be a great adventure? The Adventures of Iago and Keanu Reeves. That's gonna be an awesome show one day. Anyway.
Okay.
So you want to just jump into the next one?
Go for it. Just push it straight
All right.
through. Yeah.
This one is called Ching and Li Ching and the Rain God.
Li Ching and the Rain God.
It's going to sound like I'm saying leeching.
Leeching?
Like a lot.
So you get all American with it. Leeching and the Rain God.
Technically, I'm kind of from close to the Canadian border.
Canadian.
So I do have that little...
You do get that little bit of north in your voice sometimes there, eh? You just hear it come up when you talk about putting stuff in a bag.
Yes. That is exactly how I say bag.
Bag.
Bag. Bag. So, when the great military hero Li Ching was still an obscure and humble man, he would hunt with his bow and arrow in the Ho'u Mountains, lodging and dining in a local tavern.
That sounds like a good life.
These taverns are also called hamlets, by the way.
Hamlets.
The tavern's owner thought that he was quite remarkable and treated him more and more bountiful as the years went by. One day, Li Ching came upon a herd of deer and pursued them. Dusk was at hand, and although he knew he should give up the chase, yet his excitement carried him forward. Sorry. I wrote this word like inside, like super tiny, and to the side, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Did I write Chinese and I didn't know it? Okay. Sorry. And it soon became dark, and he lost his way. Vexed that he lost his way, his anxiety began to increase, and then suddenly along the horizon he saw a glow of lanterns, and he headed towards them. He arrived at a large mansion with an exceptionally high vermilion gate walls.
Ooh, that's a big gate.
And then that is actually usually a sign of rank and wealth, by the way. Mm-hmm. Vermilion colors and the tall-ass walls.
Big-ass gate.
Mm-hmm. After Li Ching knocked for what seemed like forever, a servant came out, and Li Ching explained that he had lost his way and begged for a night's lodging. The servant says to him, "It may not be possible for you to stay here overnight. The young masters are gone, and only the mistress is at home."
Ooh.
Li Ching urged him, saying, "At least convey my request." So the man went inside and returned moments later and says to Li Ching, "At first, the mistress thought of refusing, but considering the blackness of the night and the fact that you are lost, she feels obligated to serve as your host." So Li Ching was invited to stay in the living room. Soon, a maid appeared.
You can crash on the couch.
Yeah. You don't have no room. Soon, a maid appeared and announced that the mistress. She came out to announce the mistress.
The mistress!
Who came out wearing a black shirt with a white jacket. She was something over the age of 50 and carried herself with an air of unaffected elegance.
Elegant.
To Li Ching, it was like entering the home of the leading member of society. He came forward and bowed to the mistress. Returning his bow, the mistress said, "Since neither of my sons are here, it is not appropriate that you are here. It is not...
It's not appropriate that you're here on my couch getting drunk.
That you stay.
Where are your pants?"
However, the night is dark and your way is uncertain. I cannot in good conscience send you away, unknowingly the dangers outside. Still, our home is but a simple dwelling in the mountain wilds, and my sons come and go at all times. Sometimes they arrive dead in the night and make a lot of noise. I hope that you will not be startled. Li Ching quickly replies to her, "Not at all."
Not at all.
And so...
I'm pretty buzzed right now. I'm gonna pretty much sleep through anything. Also, I blew up your bathroom.
Did he? How did
I am a horrible guest.
Wow. So the mistress orders for dinner to be served. She's assuming, as a host, you always serve someone who just comes in the middle of the night with some food. So, Li Ching was impressed that the food was so fresh and that it was so excellent. Although he did find it odd that for a mountain-dwelling home there was an abundance of fish served. After dinner, the mistress went to another part of the mansion, and then 2 maids brought Li Ching some bedding and made of the most elegant fabric he has ever felt, and left him. He watched the 2 maids go to the gate, and he had entered in from earlier, and they shut it, and then they barred it. And Li Ching wondered what could be coming at the night to cause such a commotion out here in the wild mountains. He was too frightened to sleep, and sat upright listening. The night was nearly halfway over, which to them is about midnight, by the way, when the urgent knocking sounded on the gates. He heard a servant answer, and the caller announced, "The heavens commands your sons to send down rain in a radius of 2 miles around this mountain. Steady rain until dawn should suffice. Do not delay or cause any harm."
It sounds like just a weather report coming in.
Just radar weather.
A 40% chance of rain right over the Shinjuku region.
Just a mile 2 radius or mile.
Mile 2 radius. Wind's going to be coming from the north-northeast about 27 miles an hour. Sunset is around 6:33 p.m.
Well, this is midnight. Come on.
Well, it's the weather. He's got to talk about it.
You got to tell me what's happening at 6 a.m., not 6 p.m., bitch. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, Good joy. The servant that answered the door was given a written notice of it and brought it inside to give to the mistress. He overheard the mistress say, "My sons have not come home yet, and the order for rain has arrived. We cannot delay or refuse, or we will be punished. It is already too late to send someone to tell the boys. The servants can't be expected to take it into their own hands. What shall we do?" The servant says to her, "The guest in your living room seems quite the remarkable fellow. Why not ask him?" Grateful for the suggestion, the mistress knocked on Li Ching's door. "Are you awake, sir?" she asked. "Kindly come out for a moment." Li Ching swiftly complies, and the mistress looked worried and says to him, "This palace is not of the mortal world. This is the home of the powerful rain dragons, whose sole duty from the Jade Emperor is to make it rain on his command."
Make it rain!
Li Ching was astonished, and in awe at what he was told. The mistress continues to say, "My older son has gone to the East China Sea to attend a wedding, and my younger is escorting his sister for the evening. A moment ago we received heaven's command to send down rain, and there is no time to inform my boys, since we are separated by thousands of leagues. A replacement is not so easy to find either. I must venture to trouble you. Would it be possible for you to help us this instant?" Flabbergasted, Li Ching says, "I am just a mortal man, not a rider of the clouds. How could I ever hope to send the rain as the dragons do? If there is some kind of art form that you can teach me, then I am at your disposal." The mistress smiles and says, "You need only to follow my instructions, and all will be well." And she called her servants to bring her horse. It was a magnificent cream-colored horse draped in black. And then she ordered the servants to tie the rain holder to the front of the horse's saddle. They brought out a small dark blue vase with the symbol of a light blue raindrop on it, and tied it to the horse, as she commanded. The mistress then turned to Li Ching and cautiously reminded him to follow her direction. She says, "Follow the horse's own movements, and when he stamps his feet and whickers, just take 1 drop of water from the vase. 1. And let it fall onto the horse's mane. I implore you, do not use more than 1 drop." Li Ching mounted the horse and jolted forward, its feet climbing higher and higher.
Fuck yeah, flying horse.
Fuck yeah. Li Ching was amazed at its speed and its steadiness, and he did not realize that he was on top of the clouds. The wind raced by like arrows, thunder rumbled beneath his feet, and then the horse started to stomp his feet, and let out a loud cry as thunder rumbled again beneath him. He pulls up the vase and removes its lid, and then he lets out just 1 drop onto the horse's mane, just as he was instructed. Lightning raced below, and the clouds started to part. Below, he could see the little tavern where he had lodged, and he thinks to himself, "I've given the tavern so much trouble, and they've treated me kindly. How can I repay them? There has been a long drought, and their crops are nearly dead. Now that I have rain in my hands, why should I be so stingy with it?" So Li Ching decides to put 20 more drops of water onto the horse's mane. But soon the rain stopped, and he rode back to the mansion. When he arrived, he finds the mistress sobbing. "Oh, what a mistake," she cries.
You fucking idiot. We literally all warned you about this.
"You promised to use no more than 1 drop. Why did you use 20? To satisfy your whim? 1 drop of
Whim.
1 drop from the heavens means a foot of rain on earth.
Oh, fuck.
By midnight, your tavern had 20 feet of water. There are no people left.
Oops.
I've been severely blamed and given 80 strokes of the rod. Just look at my back. It's covered with bloody welts.
Oh.
And on top of it all, my sons have been incriminated. Oh, whatever shall I do?" Li Ching was dumbstruck with shame and fear. And the mistress lets out a woeful sigh and says, Good sir, you are but a man from the world of mortals who knows nothing about the movements of the clouds and rains. Really, I cannot hold you accountable. But if the Dragon King comes looking for you, then you will have much to fear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he will come
Watch
eat
out.
you.
But allow me to reward you for your efforts. But afterwards, leave quickly. Okay.
I hope your reward is a boat, bro, because you just flooded the fucking world.
Will you perhaps accept the gift of 2 servants, or only one of them, as you choose? She claps her hands 2 times, and 2 servants come forth. One came from the east corridor, and his face and manner were gentle and pleasing, and he seemed most agreeable.
I am most agreeable.
The other came from the west corridor, and he was hot-tempered and boisterous, and stood restraining his anger.
I will fuck you up.
Li Ching thought that if he refused her gift, he had been in a shitload more trouble. He says to her, "We hunters are combative and fierce. If I were to only choose the gentle-looking man, he would think me weak. Yet I will not be so bold as to take them both. So since you have offered, I choose the fierce one."
Fuck you, Will.
Smiling faintly, the mistress says, If that is all you wish for." She saluted him, and they parted. And the servant left with Li Ching. Once they made a few steps past the gate, they turned around, and the palace disappears. Li Ching then turns to his servant, but he too has vanished. He then had to find his way home, alone. He looked towards the tavern, but instead all he could see was water, as far as the eye could see. Only the tips of some trees stood above the flood. No men could be seen. It is said that the east of the Tung Pass, prime ministers are produced, and to the west pass are generals. Li Ching eventually quelled rebellions with his military might, and his victories were unsurpassed. But he never obtained the post of prime minister. Could it be that he did not take the general from the East Wing?
Oh, fuck. So that's some deep shit. So that was
this
a badass
is based
general.
on an actual general.
Yeah.
And this is a story that they made up. Isn't that dope?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I want to smoke more.
Yeah,
Do we got a pipe
take
around here?
We've got to take a real quick break.
Yeah.
You might hear a commercial. You might not. But if you do, I'm sorry. But
This
we
one's
got to
pretty
make that
short.
money. So, yeah, we'll be right back. All right, we are back with a little bit more Chinese folklore for you.
Yeah. All right. So this one, we're just going to jump right in.
Jump right into
All right.
it, yeah.
So this one's called the Magic Pear Tree. Mm.
Oh,
I wish it was peaches.
Oh my God, they're Asian pears.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Super
fucking
sweet,
love
delicious.
Asian pears.
Oh, okay. And that's a nice lamb chop, buddy. Well, we're
Asian
not doing
pears
that
are like
story yet.
a bit. Oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
all excited about pears now.
So a farmer came from the county to sell his pears in the market. They were juicy and fragrant, and his sales were booming. Suddenly, a Taoist priest wearing tattered scarves and a coarse cotton clothes appeared at the wagon and begged him for some fruit. The farmer shooed him away, but he refused to leave. The farmer's voice rose until he was screaming and cursing, and the priest begs and says, "Your wagon holds hundreds of pears, and I am only asking for one. That's no great loss." "Sir, why get so angry?"
I just want one of those
I'm a
fat,
fucking
fucking
Taoist
fruity,
priest.
delicious
Look at me.
pears.
Help me out, bro.
Help me out.
So the crowd even tried to persuade the farmer to part with even a bruised pear and be rid of the man, but the stubborn farmer refused. Sounds like my dad.
Can I just have the bruised one over there?
No.
No, I'm gonna eat that. You're gonna eat all of these pears. You have like 1,000 pears. I'm gonna eat them all.
Mm-hmm.
I like pears.
I'm going to sell them all. I'm going to make a fuck ton of money. Finally, a market guard saw the uproar and was getting out of hand, and he put up a few coins for a piece of fruit to throw to the priest. Hands clasped above his head, the priest bows to the guard and thanks him. The priest then turns to the crowd and says, We who have left the world find men's greed hard to understand. Let me offer some choice pears to you all, good customers. Someone in the crowd shouted, Now that you have your pear, why don't you eat it? The priest smiles and says, All I needed was the seeds for planting. So he eats the pear and with the seeds in his hands, he takes the shovel that he has been carrying on his back.
Oh,
Apparently he's like some kind of turtle.
He's a shovel
He's got
monk.
a lot of shit just on his back.
He's just got a backpack.
So he takes the shovel on his back, and he dug up several inches into the ground, and he placed the seeds in the hole and covered it with earth. Dirt. The priest called for hot water, and a bystander...
Water! Is he making Captain Planet?
I guess so. And a bystander with the taste for mischief fetched some from a nearby shop.
I'd have a taste for mischief.
The priest poured the water over the seeds he had planted.
I'm hungry for two things: mischief and pears, and I'm all out of fucking pears.
And now all eyes were on him. Then suddenly a tiny shoot appeared, and steadily it increased in size until it became a full-grown tree. And in a flash it burst into bloom, and then into fruit. Masses of large and luscious. Sorry, apparently I can't spell when I'm drunk. Luscious pears filled its branches. The priest turned to the tree and plucked the pears out and presented them all to the onlookers, and in a short while...
The priest plucked the pears.
All the fruit was gone. Then the priest takes his small axe off his back and chops at the pear tree. Ting, ting, the blows rang out.
Ting, 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 ting.
Into the air.
Ting, tong, ting.
Until finally the tree fell, and the priest took the tree and parted. During all of this, the farmer was part of the crowd, gasping.
I am aghast at this. This is a pear tree that sprung up out of... Well, because to the pear farmer, too. Like, he's thinking...
see some shit like that.
He's like, if I can go into business with this guy, we will triple. We will have cart trains of pears to not give. Then I'll have enough pears to give one to a Taoist monk.
With an outstretched neck, he forgot his business. But when the priest departed, he noticed his wagon was empty. And then that he was suspicious that the priest presented the crowd with his wares. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that the handle had been chopped off the wagon. He angrily searched about until he found it lying discarded at the foot of the wall. He then realized that the pear tree he had seen cut down was actually the handle to his wagon. As for the priest, he was never seen again, but at least the marketplace was in an uproar of laughter.
Ha ha, fucker. That's why you share your pears. Always share your pears with the poor. Because the poor priests need pears.
Dude,
poor priests
help out a brother.
Poor priests need plump pears.
This is just the time where we help people.
Yeah, you gotta help people. Help your fellow man. Give them pears.
I mean, every one of these stories had like a moral.
Pears.
Most of them were morals of greed.
Yeah, don't be greedy. Don't fuck with parrots. And, also don't be greedy again. Or you will kill all of your friends in a horrific flood and then never become prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all stories of greed.
They're all stories of greed, yeah.
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 Greedy peasant throws a stone at a bird and takes that earring.
Fuck that guy, by the way. Fuck that guy. You know who I bet that was? I bet that was the same asshole that flooded all of his friends, and he was walking by and saw that parrot, and he's like, I could really use a win right now.
The general.
The general. And that's why he hit it so perfectly and just killed it.
Jesus.
Let me just whip this rock. I might never be prime minister, but I'll be the first dude to rock one earring and pull it off.
And a new radical movement.
A new radical movement. Well, our resources for this episode, all of our stories came from Chinese fairy tales and fantasies, translated and edited by Moss Roberts. Thank you, Moss.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, folks. Hope you enjoyed this. As always, let us know what you think. Drop any suggestions, anything like that. And, we'll gladly take them on. Well, good night, everybody.